Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Hope you all are having a great work week and a great Friday as we've ended our work week and we're working our way into the weekend. So, in this video, we're really going to break down the tropics and the potential for some tropical activity to spike somewhere in the Caribbean as we get into next week. Is there going to be any kind of threat for the U.S.? We don't know any of that yet. We don't even know if there's going to be a threat for anybody in the Caribbean, but I know I do have some subscribers from the area, the islands in the Caribbean, like Jamaica. So we're going to talk about that and talk about the threat level and what can we expect and what we really know as of now. So sorry guys, I did not make a video yesterday. I just need a little bit of break, and I thought it was a great opportunity to do so with the weather in the short term being relatively quiet. So the weather has been very warm across the eastern U.S. depending on where you are. If you're in the mid-Atlantic points north, a nice cold front moved through, and it hasn't been too bad, but you know, it's October 1st, and I tell you, here in South Carolina where I'm located, it is definitely not feeling like fall for our first day of October. I'm a big time fall fan, so it's a little disappointing, but I'll try to look for cold fronts for us here in the future, but I don't see anything in the near future as far as a cold front. But we're going to talk about the tropics in this video. First off, I want to say thank y'all for the incredible support. Guys, I can't tell y'all how excited I am for the future. You know, I'm going to look back at these times where, you know, I wasn't as big, and, you know, I'm just going to smile because I'm really enjoying the journey with you guys. And, you know, I really think of y'all as like a family because y'all have been the audience that has propelled, you know, something, you know, it's like a mini dream for me. So you guys have made a mini dream of mine come true. And, you know, I've done a lot of reflecting this past week because the week before was kind of a rough week. Had a lot of things I was stressing about that was definitely not warranted. But, you know, every once in a while, I think everybody has a little anxiety. But I just want to say thank y'all. Thank y'all for the amazing support. I'm on a mission to get to 10,000 subscribers before the end of the year. So I'm definitely on track to do that. But I'm excited about the future. The winter months are coming up. And I'm a big time winter weather fan. Even though living in South Carolina, I never get to see winter weather, unfortunately. But I love talking winter weather. And winter last year was actually what is propelled my YouTube channel to the next level. So I'm very excited to go through it again and talk winter weather. So we're getting a little bit closer to that. So I'll stop talking like crazy. If you guys have not subscribed, definitely hit the subscribe button. I upload every single day, and sometimes I double up also, like I plan to do this weekend. But there's a way to join my channel. There's a PayPal link down underneath my bio too. It just gives an opportunity for you guys to donate what I do here, and you know, just you watching my videos is great enough. But I am a storm chaser, so it just goes to improving my product and making my setup much better. So thank y'all. Thank y'all for people who have given and the people who have joined my channel. There's 2 people, so thank y'all for the amazing support. So let's get going here, and I'll stop talking y'all to death as I went over 3 minutes deep into my intro. I know y'all clicked on this to talk about the weather, so that's what we're going to do here. So we still got Hurricane Sam. Sam is the strongest right now, a little earlier today than it's been its entire life. It's a 150-mile-per-hour storm, but it's going to gradually weaken in due time. And we still have Victor out here, which is pretty much there's no use in talking about Victor because it's going to continue to weaken and move north. But other than that, some tropical moisture in the western Gulf of Mexico, and that's pretty much all she wrote about that. But check it out, per the latest 2 p.m. update, 150 mile per hour, major category 4 Hurricane Sam. I mean, it's a big time hurricane as it's working its way east of Bermuda. Then Victor, which is a 65 mile per hour tropical storm, will continue to weaken probably over the next few days. You know, going through in time, I want to mention we're on October 1st now. It's October. So this is the area we watch. We start to watch the Caribbean. You know, this is number of named storms per 100 years. So there's been 30 to 49 named storms per 100 years. So what they like to do here is they like to get going here in the Caribbean, and they like to meander north. Now, what happens here is the main development region begins to turn off, which is the tropical Atlantic up here. And you have frequent cold fronts that like to move through the eastern U.S. Now, when I say frequent, what I'm meaning is you have more cold fronts than you do compared to, you know, early September. So when you have a lot of cold fronts, what happens here is the reason you see them developing right here and then moving more northeast, because a lot of times you have tropical development in the Caribbean, and then a cold front will sweep down and knock it east, and it doesn't affect the majority of the southeast. But what happens here is these cold fronts don't make it far enough southeast, so it still leaves areas like Florida potentially being impacted. That's why you've seen a lot of hurricane impacts, in the Panhandle of Florida, still in the Gulf of Mexico, like we did last year, and still in the western areas of Florida. Hurricane Wilma is a big hurricane that comes to mind that followed this exact climatology here. It came up, developed here, and then slammed just south of Tampa Bay. So this is what they like to do. So Cuba, Jamaica, it's still well into hurricane season for you guys, even though we're technically on the downhill. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go to the GFS. We're going to go through 3 different GFS runs. We're going to go to the morning run, we're going to go through the lunchtime run, and we're going to go to the most current run here. So this is the morning run from the 06Z. Check out Sam riding off. Now keep your eye on this area right here. As you're getting going here, you see this low pressure pop up here as we get into early to middle part of next week. As this pops up, it kind of just dances around. The steering currents are really light down here, meaning there's lack of steering currents. Got a tropical storm that tries to develop around Cuba as we get into midway next week, or Jamaica, and then moves into Cuba and gets going here. A little bit lag in my internet. Makes landfall, according to this GFS, as a strong tropical storm in areas of Cuba, then meanders northeast and does exactly what climatology favors, and moves northeast, and then gets caught up in an upper trough, if you will, or a cutoff low, and shoves a hurricane into the border of North Carolina and Virginia. So that's one scenario, right? This is the next GFS from 12Z. Does the same thing. Watch down here as we're getting into the early part of next week. Watching this region right down here, you get some development that forms. Same thing, develops a tropical system right on top of Jamaica, and meanders it north and hits Cuba, and then gets it just fizzles out and weakens, and then it re-strengthens as you get into next weekend. And then you have some tropical energy, a tropical storm, a hurricane, whatever it may be, about over 10 days out. And then it gets kind of caught up, and then that upper trough, or that cutoff low, it kind of spins around and does something weird. Then it kicks it back off to the east. Then you look at the latest GFS, and it does something totally different. Going through here in time, we're getting here in time. Remember, keep your eyes peeled to this area down here. And these ads are really annoying you guys, so I'm sorry if they're catching your attention in this video. I got to figure out some ad blocker or something. But they were not popping up beforehand. I was able to kind of exit them out. But keep your eyes down here in the tropics right here. And moving forward here, the L pops up. And still, I really think if you're in Jamaica, you need to watch out for the tropics for sure. Some tropical energy, whether it's just a tropical depression, a storm. The next named storm will be Wanda. But it pops up this storm right here as we get into late next week. Quickly strengthens it into a powerful hurricane and slams it into the Yucatan Peninsula next weekend, and then gets it back into the Bay of Campeche, and then makes landfall kind of where that hurricane did. I think Hurricane Grace, I believe it was, did earlier this hurricane season. So if you take a look right here at the GFS ensemble, so where's the signal show? Well, the signal is very, very strong for tropical development here in the Caribbean right here as we get into the middle part of next week. I mean, it's a pretty stout signal. Now, going forward, what it does after that, if we get too far out, it doesn't really matter. But we're around this time next week, and that is a strong signal for some kind of tropical activity into the Caribbean, according to the GFS and GEFS ensembles. Now, you look at something like, now we look at the Euro. The Euro doesn't show any energy down here. Well, it shows energy, but it doesn't show anything really fully developing. As you get into the middle part of next week, all you see is a bunch of tropical moisture down here in the Caribbean. You don't really see anything really develop into anything. So that's one thing. Even though the GFS has been, it seems like, the more accurate model, if you will, the European is still the European. It's still a major model. One thing I do want to talk about here is the upper level wind pattern, something called an anticyclonic flow, which is basically winds aloft that turn in the opposite direction as of a hurricane. What happens there is it helps the storm to ventilate. It pushes air out from the hurricane or a tropical system, and it basically promotes more convection in any given area depending on where the favorability is. See these lines going like this right here? Well, this is exactly when we can have some tropical development, and that is a big time anticyclonic flow out here that's really promoting tropical activity. Also, what it does here is it helps tropical systems or anything have its own environment. So it prevents any kind of shear from interacting with tropical systems. Now, eventually, if it keeps moving north, the energy moves north, then it will interact with a little bit of shear. But that's another thing that's kind of promoting tropical activity. One of the steering currents that I'm checking out here that's really odd is this cutoff flow, and I think this will have a factor into whatever tropical energy does develop. And here it is. Here's that piece right here. But if you look at the latest GFS, I think this cutoff low kind of weakens or dissipates. So it never really pulls this tropical energy north. But if you look at a couple runs prior, it stays there. And it's able to pull this, I believe, north. And I think it's a steering current that allows this to move a little bit more north and maybe interact a little bit closer to the U.S. So one thing I will mention, guys, is the sea surface temperatures out in this area are extremely warm. You have temperatures probably in the mid to upper 80s Fahrenheit as far as sea surface temperatures. The water is very warm around Jamaica. So sea surface temperatures are very favorable for tropical development. So that's one thing to mention here. There's nothing to freak out about, but I know I got some viewers in the Caribbean and around Jamaica area. So you guys definitely watch out for the tropics, and it might get a little active as we get into next week. So thank y'all for tuning in. I hope you'll have a great start to your weekend, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.